you guys are buying the one that looks like a mint, my toddler approves. Happy video day, guys. So for today's video, we're going to be doing another Make Up Your Mind, and this is one that you guys actually requested that I do. And holy cannolis, this was so hard. I decided to do two of the new Huda Beauty Pastel palettes. These are her mini palettes that she just finished releasing. I believe that they're going to be available in Sephora like this week. So inside of this collection, there is 3 different pastel obsessions that she released. There's the rose, there's the mint, and there's the lilac. Each one is retailing for $29 US. And in today's Make Up Your Mind, I'm going to be trying to find 2 of them. These are the 2 that I like the most. So we're going to be trying to find the mint and the lilac. And, oh, guys, this is a hard one. So if you guys are new to Make Up Your Mind, basically what I do in this series is I search through my collection and I try to see if a brand new eyeshadow palette is worth it for me to pick up based on what I already own. So basically this is a practice that we've been doing for a while now. I have an entire playlist if you guys want to see all the other videos that I've done. And basically it's a way for me to decide, should I buy something before I actually go out and buy it? So I always tell you guys to try this at your house on your own with your own palettes and just kind of like get an idea, see the color story, see if it's a color story you would even use before you go out and pay for it and, you know, end up hating it or never using it, which we know that happens a lot. I liked all 3 of them. I narrowed it down to the 2 that I was considering purchasing. Like, these are the 2 that if I were to go out, these are going to be the ones that I would purchase. So pretty. So unique. So I decided, let's do a Make Up Your Mind. Do you need these palettes, Christina? Let's decide. But before I show you guys my results, if you guys are new here, I'm Christina Brooke. I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button wherever it is down here so that you guys can be part of the family and see me again, and hit the notification bell while you're at it. And let's get into the video right now. I'm going to show you guys my results. So these are the results. First one, let me show you guys the mint palette. So these are my mint palette results. Not perfect, but I got a few hues. And then the next one is my lilac palette results. So here we go. This is the lilac palette. And so you guys can see, I feel like I was able to kind of, like looking at the swatches on my hands, these are going to look a lot darker swatched on my hands in studio lights than they actually do in daylight. But looking at them, I feel like they look like similar, like they're similar to the palettes. They have tad differences, obviously, because I couldn't find the exact tones. The cool thing about these palettes, guys, is it is unique in the sense that we have not really been seeing pastels being released. If you guys are like me, who have been like buying a lot of the brand new releases, you may not have a lot of pastels in your collection because, you know, they're in now, but they haven't really been in for a little while. So pastels is kind of unique. So in that sense, you may have a hard time finding these colors like I did, but let's go ahead and let's get into the first palette. Let's start off with the mint palette because I really want the mint palette. I like the colors of it. I thought it was super cool. It reminded me of the Emerald Obsessions from Huda Beauty, which I really, really love. So I decided, let me pull that one out and let's see how similar it looks like it's going to be. So I'm going to first show you guys the palettes. These are the ones that I jumped in to find this mint palette. The first one was Huda Beauty Mini Obsessions. This is her Nude Light. I also jumped into the big palette. This is the Huda Beauty Nude palette. I also jumped into Huda Beauty Emerald Obsessions, so I did find a few colors. I needed to get a color from the Violet Voss Rainbow palette, and finally, I pulled out a palette that I've been telling you guys, I don't even know why I bought this. I really just bought this because I like My Little Pony. But I pulled out the ColourPop My Little Pony palette. And let me just tell you guys, this is like an in color story. And like, maybe I'm actually going to get some use out of this. Very interesting. But let's go ahead and let's get into the first color. So the first color, I was looking at the swatch. And I can tell that the swatch inside of the Huda Beauty one looks like it is an emeraldy color, but it's a little bit different from the actual Emerald Obsessions color. I was referencing it to this color right here in Emerald Obsessions. This is just way, 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 way too green. And I don't know what's wrong with this color, but this color I had to like literally scrape off the top layer again because it like dries out. It's the weirdest color ever. But what I did was I grabbed this color right here and mixed it with this color here, this mint tone. When you mix them together, you do get a little bit of a lighter green mint hue that does have a similar representation to the color that I'm seeing in the swatch from Huda Beauty. So I feel like that color, I can kind of create it. So I do think that I was able to create that color, not exact, but I feel like with blending and everything, we're probably gonna get a little bit similar there. So that one I feel like I got. So the next one is interesting because there's like these swirls of like a blue-green. It almost makes it turn into more of like a blue tone. And the color that I referenced it into, and I almost feel like it looks kind of similar, is this one right here from the ColourPop My Little Pony palette. And it's the color I have all over my lids, and this is a horrible finger for me to put it on, but it looks really similar to this one. Now I feel like this color is gonna look similar. Can it be a little bit different? It can be, but I feel like when it's put on the lid and everything, like looking at this color, I'm like, that looks kind of like the color I've been seeing them say it is. So I feel like that color I have, and I also have it in the Tropic Natasha Denona palette. Almost looks very similar to that one too. So then when we move on to the next one I actually had a little bit of a harder time finding. This one swatches pretty deep from what I'm seeing in her color story. And when I was swatching through some of my other colors, they just didn't give me that same hue. So what I ended up doing was I went into the new Nude from Huda Beauty. I went into this color right here in the new Nude from Huda Beauty, and it gives me a similar hue, but I almost needed to lighten it up just a tad. So I jumped into the first color, which is this matte whitish cream color. When you mix them together, you're able to create a color that looks kind of spot on. So that one I almost feel like I can create, and I can also play with that tone a little bit. Like I want a little lighter, I can add a little bit more cream into it. Darker, I just leave out the cream. So I feel like that color, as pretty as it is, I do feel like we've seen a lot of that style of color. We can manipulate that kind of tone to be deeper, or we can actually make it lighter as well. This looks peach to me. So when from the swatch, it looks very peach, and I kind of was looking back and forth. There was a color in the My Little Pony that I was kind of thinking of picking, but I ended up just going into the Violet Voss Rainbow because there is this color peach right here. This looks so similar to the swatch, so I almost feel like this peach is the peach. Like, I mean, I guess it's like a peach metallic, and it looks very, very similar to the one in the new Huda Beauty palette. So I'm already saying for the first 4 shades, I'm pretty okay on, you know, like I think I've got it. So if we keep on moving, the next color is one of the ones that kind of threw me for a loop. I don't feel like I have this exact tone. I had a harder time finding it. What I was able to do was just go into the Mini Nude Light from Huda Beauty, and there is this really pretty color right here. It's kind of like one of those colors that shifts a little bit, so when you actually swatch it, it actually looks more peach than it looks inside the pan. In the pan it looks pink, but when you swatch it, it looks more peach, and I feel like it pulls stronger of a light peach than it pulls of the pink. Now this color is going to switch a little bit because it's not exactly like a light peach. So do I have this color? I don't really have this color, but I'm okay with the color that I have. I think it's pretty nice, so I'm not sure. Like, this is one of the ones that has me a little bit like, I don't really have you, but do I want you? That's the question. So if we keep going, here is one of those other swirly ones. This is actually a pretty creative little thing that Huda Beauty did here, because you can't really tell what the color is going to look like in the actual pan. You actually have to go by the swatch, but at the same time, it guess depends on how much you swirl it. It could probably change colors on you. But based off the colors that I see in here, what I'm thinking I can do to kind of create something similar, and this was one obviously that's going to be difficult, I jumped into the same color that I was using from the ColourPop one, which is this color that's kind of like a blue. It has a little bit, like it's like a lightish blue. And I kind of swirled it in with this color from Huda Beauty, this color right here in the Huda Beauty palette. Those two colors together, it gives me a little bit of like that minty blue tone, but and then adding in a little bit of like that brownish pink gave me an interesting hue that almost looks similar to what I was seeing inside of the swatch. Now I do think that this is one of those colors that is so unique because it is a combination of 2 different colors already, and depending on how you swirl it, I'm sure it will either be deeper or lighter, or depending on how many swirls are in the one that you actually get, I guess the colors will be different. So this is one that I don't even think like I can 100% say that I could even have because of the way that it's created, but can I create something similar? I guess I kind of can. can, but I don't know if it's gonna ever be exact because I feel like it just depends on the palette that you get. So the next tone though, I do feel like if you jump into the Emerald Obsession from Huda Beauty and you have this tone right up here, you actually don't even feel like I had to manipulate that color too much to feel like I already had that color. So that one I feel like I'm good on. I really love, especially when they're swatched, I just think it looks so gorgeous. But I do feel like if you have a light emerald tone in your collection, this is not a tone that you're going to use very often, and you can add a little bit more cream in there to kind of lighten up that tone if you really wanted to. So I will tell you, if you own it, if you own a tone like this, do you need to go out and buy another palette that has another one? I don't really think so, unless you're somebody who really loves. I think most of us use it as accents and stuff, and I think with one color in our collection, I think we might be good. So love the color. Have a similar one, not exact, but I do think that it's going to look pretty similar on the lid. And when we go on to the next one, this one is a little unique, and I don't feel like I have this tone, and I really went through my collection looking for this tone. I went like to town on my collection. I was already to the point that I was like, I can't find it. So I don't even think I really found it 100%. I went into the Emerald Obsessions and I went into this first tone right here and this third tone right here. So what I did was mix these two together to kind of give me a lighter mint color. This one's a little bit lighter. This one has a little bit more blue to it. So when they're mixed together, they do give me more of a mint feel. It's not 100% on point. I feel like this is one of those colors that when I look at it in the Huda Beauty Nude palette, I'm like, you're pretty. So I really, really like this color. I don't really like the color that I made. So I do think that the new Huda one, I love that color in there. So that one, I'm like, ah, I like you. So as we go on to the last one, so the last one I had a little bit of a harder time as well. I don't feel like I own this, and I really tried to make this color and I had a hard time. What I ended up having to just do was jump into this ColourPop palette that I have, jump into the first tone, which is kind of like a matte cream white, and then lay that down. And then after I laid that down first, then I jumped into the Emerald Obsessions and jumped into the second tone and just mixed them together until it started to kind of create a more minty color. So the reason I put the white down first was because I don't even feel like you really needed that much green. So if you put the green down first, then you have to add too much white. So by putting the white down first, I was able to mix the green in as much as possible to kind of create a more mint feel. Don't really have this tone. So that's another one that I don't have. And when I look at the swatches overall, I'm like, okay, so I kind of created a similar color story. I don't think it's spot on, but it's similar. Like, especially the last three tones, I feel like I really wasn't able to find them like exactly how Huda has them. So after I kind of reviewed this after I finished it, I feel like the first four I kind of was able to find. And then as I continued to go on, I had a really hard time finding it. So I would definitely say more than half the palette I really couldn't find perfect, that I was able to say I have this palette. So of course, what's that going to end up being? Whether I feel like these tones I'm going to be able to use, and we will get into all of that when I make up my mind at the end of this video. But now let's move on to the lilac one, because that's the other one that I'm kind of debating between, because it's either pick up both or pick up one, and I really just don't know. So I decided let's do the lilac one. I don't really have that many purples in my collection. I'm not a huge purple wearer. And I mean, I love greens, but I don't feel like that many brands have come out with greens. So green and purples are really stuff that I don't have that much of. All right, so for the purple palette, what I ended up having to do was jump into this palette right here. This is a combination of the Viseart Dark Edit and Paris Edit. I did have to jump into both of these. I also jumped into the Huda Beauty Mauve Obsessions for I think 2 colors. I jumped into the Huda Beauty Mini Nude. I also jumped right back into the ColourPop Pony palette, and I had to jump into one color from Natasha Denona's Mini Tropic palette. And I did have to jump into one color from the ColourPop It's My Pleasure. And I will tell you guys, most of you guys are probably thinking it's similar to this. And as I've been swatching and trying to see if it was, it really isn't. It doesn't really have too many tones similar to this palette at all. I just had to throw it in there because I had to get one tone from it. So for the first color, let's jump into it. The first color I had a harder time finding, and yeah, it's a purple that is difficult to find because it's not a typical purple. What I ended up doing was jumping into this color from Viseart. This is from the Dark Edit. It's a really nice saturated purple, but it's too purple. So what I had to do too was jump into the light purple that's inside of the Natasha Denona Tropic and mix them together. When they mix together, I'm able to come up with a tone that's similar to the one in the lilac. I like this tone. Now creating it and actually looking at it, I'm like, I kind of like this. I mean, it's not as Barney as some of these other purples that I've seen in the past. I kind of like this one. So this one has me interested. So going on to this peach tone. So this peach tone, I jumped into this palette right here from Viseart. I jumped into the top portion, which is the Paris Edit, and I jumped into this peachy tone from the Paris Edit. This color to me is almost exact. Like I feel like the one that's inside of the new palette from Huda is more orange. It looks more orange, and this one looks a little bit more peach. So do I have this exact tone? No, but like the thing is when you start to put things on your lid, sometimes those colors blend out, and peaches to me sometimes blend out. They look very similar sometimes to oranges, light oranges. So I feel like this color may look similar. I don't have the exact tone from the one in the Huda. I like the Huda one. So then if we keep going, the next one I had a hard time finding. This was another one that I was like, how do I do this? So what I ended up having to do was jump into this ColourPop palette, jump into this first color right here, which is like a matte white, lay that down first, and then jump into this color right here from Natasha Denona from the Tropic palette, which looks in the pan like it would be the same color, but it swatches a lot darker. Put it on top, and when you mix them together and lightly kind of blend them, of course you have to have the white base down first, it looks more of that really light lavender color. So I feel like this color I can create, but I really don't own. So this is another color that I'm like, huh, 3 for 3. I really don't own you, like, and I really like you. So I'm kind of enjoying what I'm seeing so far. But then when we start going on to some of the rest of the palette is where I start to see a little bit of stuff that I've seen in the past. So the next color, what I did was I jumped into the Paris Edit. This color right here, it's kind of like a rosy metallic, and it looks similar to the color that's inside of the new Huda one. I feel like the Huda one is a tad bit darker than the one that I found inside of the Paris Edit, but at the same time, it's like one of those kind of real saturated pink topper colors that I don't use pink that often. I mean, that's the truth. I really just don't. So that color is pretty. Don't know if I would actually get use out of it, but I do like it. So the next tone, this one I actually like a lot. I really like the color inside of this new Lilac palette. So the way that I was able to create it was I went into the Huda Beauty mini palette, and I went into the third and this bottom second one and mixed them together. That's the only way I was able to create this tone. Now I will tell you, this was hard. I love the tone that's inside of this new palette like a lot. Like I think it's so pretty. I really enjoy the color that's in there. I feel like I was able to create it, but I do feel like I would get a lot of use out of that tone. That's a very pretty tone. So the next color I had to jump into the Mauve Obsession. So this is when I had to pull this little guy out because I really just, I don't know. I just couldn't find these tones. I'm like, I really don't own that much like pink, purple. Like it's just not a color story that I go to. But I like the ones in this Lilac palette, so we're gonna keep on going. I went into these two colors right here, mixing them together, and of course you're gonna put a little bit more of the lighter one than the darker one. I feel like I was able to come out with a similar hue to the one that's inside of this palette. It's not spot on. I feel like it's similar, and it might look very similar on the lid. It's not spot on, and I like it. Maybe not my favorite tone, but I like it. Now this next color had me so frustrated because I really had a hard time finding this one, like really hard time. What I ended up doing was jumping into this color right here inside of Huda Beauty that gives me like a lilac-y kind of tone, but it's just way too purple. So what I did was jump into this one right here that gives me more of a pink. So when you mix these two together, you get a similar hue to the one that's inside of the new Obsessions palette. I really feel like this was similar, and when you see it swatched and you do see the swatches, you will see that together they do make a really pretty color, and I can create it. So that one's another one that I feel like I was able to create, but do I like it? That's another question. Okay, so then the last two, I finally was like, I think I remember you. So for the next one, what I did was jump into my ColourPop palette right here and jumped into this tone right here. And yes, this purple looks super similar. So this one, this purple I have, and I have it in this palette, and I need to use this damn palette because I bought it so long ago and I was like, I'm never gonna use this. Why did I buy this? And guess what, Christina? It's in and you can use it, so I'm happy about that. And the last color, the only reason I brought in the It's My Pleasure is for this last tone. This last tone is the only reason I brought it in. It's this color right here called Kitten Fish. Is it Kitten Fish? Yes, Kitten Fish. So Kitten Fish, I like the one in the Huda a little bit more because I think it's a little deeper, it's a little bit more pink. So after doing all of this, this is my thoughts. So I've got these color stories on my arms. Visually for me, that mint one, it's just so, the mint one is beautiful to me visually. Like, I don't know. It's just so pretty. Like, I feel like the combination of both of these together is just, it's so pretty. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's just like a really pretty palette mixed together. Like these two together are really pretty. I almost feel like it may be similar to the Mercury retrograde if you like put these together, you know? So pretty. But out of functionality, if I look at both of them, I almost feel like the one that I would get more use out of, believe it or not, is the lilac one. The lilac one almost goes a little bit more within the color story of purples. So if you're missing out on purples in your collection, you don't have that many purples, it almost looks like to me like the lilac one gives you pinks and purples and they stay within like more of like a color family. Whereas when I'm looking at the one that has the mints, they went a little bit out to add like fun colors in there that mix good with the mints. But this is hard, guys. I'm gonna tell you, this is hard because I like them both. I really do. And I almost feel like I can. So I can buy both. That's the truth. I really can buy both because I did not have a lot of the tones from the mint one. And I have like none from the lilac one. Like I have a few from the lilac one. Let's not lie. I have a few. But I think I've made up my mind, and as of right now, I think I will be picking up the lilac one. But anyways, so overall, what do I think of these palettes? I think they're extremely unique. I definitely do. Based off of what I have in my collection, I feel like they're very unique to what has come out in the past. Yes, they may have some similarities to like the ColourPop little minis, but compared to the It's My Pleasure, like I was looking at it, it doesn't really look similar at all. I feel like it's very different, and I really honestly like this pastel things. And I feel like if you guys don't have pastels in your collection, this is a great way to add them because you could just get the little tiny minis. Don't have to use them all the time, and you can actually use them as add-ons. So I love this. I love it. I think it's adorable. And yeah, I'll definitely be picking up this one right here. Not sure yet if I'll pick this one up, but I'm definitely going to be picking up the lilac one. So I want to know from you guys, are you guys planning on picking up any of these? So leave me your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. And do you guys want me to pick up both? I mean, leave me that down below too. And I will just say right now, my daughter just woke up and I went to go get her and she told me, your eyes look beautiful. So she loves my eye makeup. So if you guys are buying the one that looks like a mint, my toddler approves. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.